Easily one of the most underrated features that your Cricut can do is embossing. I get that it looks complicated and it's not just a one-step process, so I'm gonna try to break it down and make it easier on you, so you'd want to try to do this yourself. Now, a great spot to try and use embossing is when you're using cardstock paper such as invitations or birthday cards, so that's what we're gonna do here. So let's go ahead and give some pocket invitations that freshly customized stamped look. So if you've been around for a while, you know I like to make these pocket invitations right with my Cricut. So here's my design template that I made all ready to go, but I do want to elevate this a little bit and add that date on the flap. Now you can easily enough just add a text and put whatever you want to go onto the flap right there. Not an upgraded Cricut member, and I am not liking the free options that they are giving me. So honestly, I just created one in Canva and then I am uploading that in. If you are bringing in a design yourself, make sure it is a PNG, and also if you have the option to make it a transparent background, do so. If your image still has a background, make sure you hit that select button and get rid of that because you do not want that to come in with you. Then after you continue on, you want to go to convert upload to and make that a single layer. If you're bringing in a high resolution image, it will come in too big, so just scale that down to where you see fit. Now that I'm happy with the size of this, I want to go ahead and make another layer, so I'm going to give it a stamp effect. In order to do that, we need to go up to the top and click offset. As you see, as soon as we open the window, there is a blue outline around my numbers. Your goal in this offset window is to get your outline as close as possible to whatever your design is looking like. The closer you get, the better, because the more prominent your embossed design is going to look like. If your offset line is too far away, it is not going to give you that stamped look that you're going for. Now that I have that thin outlined offset, I need to change the function on this. So with that layer still selected, go to the top toolbar where it says operation. A whole bunch of selections will drop down for you, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but we need to select deboss. I believe if you have the Explorer Cricut model, you need to select score for this. You won't have this option. Now, to make sure these are both perfectly aligned for each other, to make sure we get that stamp effect, we need to select both layers, go to align, and hit center. Hopefully it's not just my design space, but it always looks like it's not actually centered, but once I click off of it, it does actually square up with each other. Now, honestly, we have a lot of the hard parts set up, but unfortunately, we can't just go to make, because what's going to happen is nothing is attached to each other, and it's going to end up going on different canvases. So in order to fix that, I need to jump back and play with a few different things here. This attached layer that I have selected is actually my pocket invitation. What I want to do is take my deboss layer and I want to attach it with that. So since I already have this as an attachment layer, I'm just going to slide it into this file. If you're doing something similar and want this debossed effect on a certain shape, you want to take your offset here and you want to attach it with that layer. So in order to do that, select both layers, right click, and hit attach. Now you can see we still have that solo layer that's just for our basic cut. But in order to make this work and for everything to line up, I'm going to be duplicating that layer that I just attached. So no, we're not actually making two of these. I just need this as my model. And that basic cut is going to stay solo when we go into make. Unfortunately, when it comes to Cricut, it tries to force us to cut everything first, so I need to do a solo cut before anything else happens. Now that we're in make and we're looking at our different canvases, I need to adjust a few things. This first mat that I'm showing on my screen needs to be the one that cuts. So I'm going down to my third and I am taking that solo number cut and I am bringing it to my first mat. Now, because I am actually cutting the shape out on my own with this, I don't have to worry about alignment too much because I'm cutting down a 12 by 12 cardstock. So really what I need to focus on is getting that cut right where the deboss is set up. So guys, use that zoom feature as much as you can. Get it as close as you can inside of the other numbers or whatever design you are going for. It probably will not be perfect, but as long as you get super close, it's going to come out great, I promise. Now, once you feel pretty good about where you position that, you're going to notice on that first canvas how there's all these different functions. That is unfortunately the order that it's going to go in, but we don't want that, so we need to improvise a little bit. So what I'm going to do on my first mat is I'm going to get rid of that pocket invitation. So if I go and click on it, it's going to give me those little dot 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 icons in the top left of it, and I want to hide this. Now you can see my basic cut is left solo, and on the left side next to the mat, you only see the one function basic cut. And then the second mat can be left alone because it's got all the other functions that I needed to do in the correct order. So now we are ready to go on and start making something. Power on your machine so Design Space can connect to it. Make sure you have your standard blade in there. I had a different one in, so I am just going to flip that around. Make sure on the left side it has the correct mat selected. Then for material, I personally went with a heavy cardstock because I feel like the little thicker materials do end up working the best. So I ended up going with a 300 GSM cardstock, which I had on hand, but use what you have. Then I took a cut piece of cardstock that I had left over, and I am just putting that right onto my light grip mat. Then I'm using my brayer to just roll over it and make sure there's no air bubbles and everything is stuck down well. Now I'm just going to note really quick, this is a new mat and it is very, very sticky, which is a good thing. If your mat is not tacky enough, these things will pull up on you, which is exactly what you don't want. Placement with embossing is very, very crucial. Now, once that's done cutting, we need to take that out and leave down what we need embossed. So I'm removing the outer paper and then the inside of all the numbers. Once you have that, I am just going to grab my cardstock that I want this to be on, and I'm going to put this right on top. And once again, I am just using my brayer to roll over it, and I'm really making sure it gets over those numbers really well. Once you feel that it's stuck down pretty well, you can go ahead and bring that back over to your Cricut. First, in order to load that in, we need to make sure that our second mat is all prepped and ready to go, so make sure that one is correctly selected. Then once again, for materials, I'm going to go ahead and use a heavy cardstock, and I kept it on default pressure. A feature I do like with Design Space is it does tell you what tools and in what order, and also in what clamps. So since I don't have a scoring wheel, I am going to put in that I have the stylus, so it just recognizes that I'm using a different tool. And as you can see from these little instructions, I need to put my stylus in clamp A and my deboss tool in clamp B. Then I'm just loading my mat back in and letting it do its thing. Now, without taking my mat out, Design Space is just showing me that I need to load back in my fine point blade in order to finish this off. So as you can see, I'm just switching in my blade really quick without taking the mat out. Once that's set, I'm just gonna hit the flashing button to finish the job off. And then all that's left to do is just remove it from the mat. If you're going to be making multiples, just remove the remainder of the material and leave that little stencil there. Keeping this there and just loading another piece of cardstock on top is just going to allow you to keep doing this process over and over again as many times as you need. And there you have it, folks. We just created these beautiful pocket invitations with a nice embossed look on the outside. And no one's going to believe you DIY this right from home. For great results, make sure you're using a textured cardstock like this one. This is a linen one or a shimmer metallic. Those are always great to use. And that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure you save this video and give this a try next time you're looking to elevate any of your invitations.